A lush, vibrant underground society illuminates the landscape below the concrete, below the city. As we unscrewed the vents that was dividing these two worlds, Robert, Sandra and I jumped down from the vent. The hallways were full of markets and stores. It was as if they had lived here for generations. Although some of the stores seemed very familiar to a lot of video game companies, but we just shrugged it off and just kept on walking. We later walked to the mayor's office. We couldn't tell the identity of the mayor, but there was a weird aura around him or her. I suspected nothing of it, but as they talked, there's something unique about the voice. Now, okay, I had told you that everyone, and I mean everyone, had died in the fire in the hotel. But it could be the case that some people survived. Very few, but they survived. So it could also be very likely, and at this point it's just a conspiracy theory, but here it goes. It is quite likely that even though this is a conspiracy theory, that the mayor of this underground city is Jaden Animations. We really don't have a second name? Nope. Alright then. Jaden Animations. How do I know this? Well, we had actually spoken to the mayor about what was going on, and in the shadows this very distinct hairstyle was there. Now, I think it's important to mention that we had never actually seen the mayor's face. It was just a silhouette with the hands only being shown. But that's a very distinct cutscene, similar quite possibly to the one in the first dream. But this time we couldn't see the person in question. Of course, it wasn't exactly a familiar voice, but this could simply be because of the time frame between the first dream and the hotel fire and now. Or because it's quite possible that she didn't come out unscathed. After talking to the mayor, they told us about a secret program going on in some of the lower levels of the city from accounts for the locals. I asked where it was within the city, but the mayor just shrugged and they gave me a local map. I asked for Robin and Sancho to stay where they are and protect the mayor and the people, so I had to go alone. It took some time to find the rumored cloning facility, but when I was there was a group of scientists who were already at their stations, so I demanded that they stop the cloning process. And surprisingly, they said yes. I had actually wondered why they said yes after the dream, until I realized that the only reason why they had stopped was because they already had clones of me. Was I aware of this? No. Almost certainly not during the dream. And by that point, there were already 65 clones already done. You there? Yeah. What are all these tanks for? Oh, they're your clone units, sir. 5 to 6 units already, with a million more well on the way. D1 should have never given you funding. So I did what any other commander would do and started planning a coup d'etat immediately. You could probably compare it to the Camino uprising, since I could sense that the scientists were going to want to be arrested. But since I had the power, I gathered up the clones and headed to the armory room. One of them got a flamethrower, another one got a shotgun, and one of them had the same powers as I did but slightly weaker, and another one just got a Luger while the other one got an AK-47. We split up and started fighting the scientists, who had already started arming themselves. But, with them being armed with energy weapons, they were just no match for actual bullets. As we both fought, I saw a central cloning tank, and a 7th clone. But he didn't look like a clone at all. In fact, he kind of looked like a character that I'd made. One that I got rid of and had forgotten for a long time. He was, to put it mildly, an evil clone that I'd faced off before. I think I have a much more connected history to dreams I had years ago than I realized. The climax of that being the final battle between me and him. We were in a ruined city. My friends had been knocked out, and the security forces that came with us couldn't pin him down. I fought him for, as long as my first notebook, honestly. He originated as an idea in a small comic I had made, where a zombie apocalypse had taken place, and in the end, I had thrown him below the bedrock the last time I saw him. That dream happened years ago, but now here, after years, I find him here. Now, I don't think these scientists knew what they were getting themselves into. Although I certainly knew what they were getting themselves into. He was in almost perfect condition, and he was looking very strange. His skin was translucent, and then the cloning tank started cracking up. And I knew something was going on immediately. Then suddenly, a rip in space-time and reality caused me and the evil clone to start going into the portal. And we're stuck in this weird room where the background is black or space, and time surrounded by the galaxy. We see that there's another rift, so me and him race to go through it, since you tend to get stuck in this portal limbo. We teleport to all sorts of places, including the Great Wall of China, where a friend murmured something about how he's coming back home. The thing is, he was living at sea at the time, so when I woke up, he announced that on our Discord server he is going back home. Anyways, back to the dream. I eventually beat him towards the rift, and as I crashed down onto a bench, he throws some sort of bomb. So I grabbed my watch to stop the bomb, but because I did that, something clicked, and a pause rang out from the site, and something happened. It turns out the bench I'd landed on was inside my school. From what I can tell is the first day of year 7, it's a bit unclear. I think I had ended up in an alternate universe, in an alternate timeline where somehow all of my dreams never happened. But here's the kicker. I'm still the same person. I never had any of my powers taken away. I could just still fly and the rift was still open. So I had the chance to go back into my dimension. But instead, I just took a minute to take a look at this quite possibly perfect world. I didn't have anything to say as I flew back to the rift, and when I checked, he was gone. Nowhere to be seen. And since this is the final dream, well, I guess I'm closing up shop. There's just nothing else to do here. But you know how I was talking about the story part of these dreams and how I apparently worked as a mercenary? Well, surprise! I actually had a dream where me and a bunch of other mercenaries were fighting over a bridge, fought over by 2 very competitive city councils who just couldn't find any other way to resolve their dispute. So, expect that in a few weeks. But for the time being, Colonel Yuri, over and out.